Hello and welcome to Masters of Change. When we hear the word change, what does it come to our mind? There are many things that might come to your mind as I see change being the constant. I see that as the only thing that is permanent. Everything that we see is undergoing a change. When we look at our own lives, we have also changed as people. From a small child to a teenager to an adult, the change goes on in our lives as well. But there are certain aspects of change that we can master. There are certain aspects in our lives that we can choose that where should we head. This is where I want to be. And it requires a great amount of determination and a lot more. There are few people who have mastered this art of change, and this episode is a small effort to bring those stories to light. Today, we have Eric joining from Canada and who will share his story of change. Hello, Eric. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me here.
Eric, before we go on exploring the stories of change that you have seen in your life, just to get to know a little bit about you. Who are you? Where do you come from? What kind of family? What kind of schooling, education, work experience? Just those kind of stuff. So just a little bit about you so that the audience can know where you come from.
Well, all the above that you mentioned, school, family, it's been constant change from the beginning. So I was born, but then it changed every moment. So I'll try to make it very, very short because I was born basically in France from a Canadian mother and a French father. They didn't get along after a while, so it changed. So I moved with my mom in Canada. I became Canadian. But that didn't last long because she passed away. So it changed again. Went back to France with my dad, but didn't get along too well with the whole change again. So I changed again and I went back to Canada. Follow? Yeah. So it's back and forth every 7 years. And before I knew, I was 21 years old and had really those two backgrounds, French Canadian, but also French from France. And my family is also a very complicated one because we have background in culture, arts. My uncle was a kind of a genius in the music, kind of a composer of classical music. So it was a whole world, very strange stories and glamour and stuff like that. In France, my parents used to own a big hotel with celebrities, and so I've always been into all kind of different worlds that seem sometimes to me like being raised in Walt Disney from time to time. But when I was 21 years old, I was in France, and I felt there was too many influences. My dad was pulling me to be serious, a big job, and there was not too many options. Lawyer, doctor, that's it. So I choose veterinarian. I thought I would be veterinarian. I will save the whales. That was my thing. But on the other side, I had sisters who were very artistic, and my uncle who was in the arts. So part of me wanted to be, puppeteer or dancer or I don't know what, in theater. And the other one wanted to be a billionaire. I was a bit confused, because one doesn't pay and the other one does pay.
Yeah.
So I chose veterinarian school for a while, but decided that I wanted to know really who I was and decided to leave France, come back to Montreal in Canada and Quebec, just to find out if I'm by myself, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? So that's where I ended up, my own personal quest for discovering who I am and the search for the self, which is, I guess, the eternal search for everyone, right?
People talk about this search. I believe all youngsters come to a point in their life where they face this question that what is it that I really like to do? What is it that defines me so that I need to choose a life for myself now? But when you look at life not just as a point where you have to choose your career, but also there are times when we come to question our very own existence, talk about who we really are, what does it really mean to be here. Some people have called it spiritual awakening or a quest for something deeper, search for God, a different kind of a search that overtakes people. Since you also practice spirituality, how did this beginning of this journey happen to you? Were you always looking for something? Was there an urge to find something deeper and more meaningful in your life, or was it just accident?
Well, I would say it was a two-step program. One was getting a divorce from God, and the second was encountering a whale. So you want the details?
Yes, of course.
God and I didn't get along at some point because, he killed my mother. That was not good. According to Christian Catholic faith, when my mother passed away, I was very young. And I was very strong Catholic. So I was told, if your mother is gone, it's God who decides who lives and who dies. So I told the priest, tell your God that in our world, we call them serial killer. If you choose people like that, say, we have a term for that. It's called serial killer. So when my mother passed away, I divorced from God completely. I didn't want to hear anything about God. Anyone who would talk to me about spirituality, God, I would say, nice meeting you, bye-bye. All my friends were atheists, and God was not allowed in the conversation, really, for years. I was very, very strong about it. Until the day when I met a whale. And to make the story as short as possible, I was on the big river in the St. Lawrence River, north of Quebec City in Canada. It's a beautiful place, and people go whale watching. And I love the whales. That's what I wanted to do as veterinarian. And I was with a friend, and at some point I was in the front of the boat, I was actually grumpy and moody, and I was in bad mood. And my friend keeps saying, "Oh, you're never happy," and then, "Well, I'm not happy." So I was there, and all the tourists were taking a lot of pictures, and I don't like tourists. So I was very, bad boy at the time. And suddenly, from nowhere, this huge blue whale came from under the boat, and blue whale was, it's the biggest animal on the planet. Yeah. And it was like a mystical experience. I mean, I can talk about it for an hour, but basically I felt like the world stopped. And I didn't smoke anything at the time. I was, it was morning time. I was okay. Didn't drink anything. But the whale came out, and I felt like the world stopped. Everybody was frozen. And the whale turned around and opened the eye. And she looked, I say she because in French, it's a feminine word. And she looked at me in the eyes, and she stopped, and we had this, what I understood later to be kind of a drishti, a long, very, very insisting look in my eye. And I had the thought at the time that the beauty of the world, the DNA of the perfection of the world that I felt was missing, or that's what I was searching for, not for God. I was searching for nobility, divinity, and why can't we do things properly? Why can't we stop destroying the planet and killing each other? I was really upset about the world. And it's as if the whale said, don't worry. The DNA of perfection is hidden right here in me, and it's safe. They can do whatever they want. It will never be destroyed. Where that thought came from, no idea. But I heard it very clearly, and the whale almost looked at me saying, "You got it? Because your tourists are going to chase after me now. I'm better to go." Yeah, I got it. So the whale, really, I'm not making it up. She kind of closed the eyes like in such kindness. She just closed the eye, and then she went on the water. And it's like a train afterwards. And then I felt like everybody was back to motion. The tourists came running, click, 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 but I missed it. And the friend who was with me told me, she looked at you, not at my friend. She looked at me. And I said, yeah. For 3 days, I couldn't speak. Honestly, I was just silent for 3 days. And the thought that came to my mind was, I want to be pure. Scary thought, because I didn't know what it meant. But I don't want to go to the monastery. But I thought, I want to be pure. And I told my friend, I want to be pure. And she said, okay, now you're really in trouble. You're scaring me. And I used to smoke a lot and never touch a cigarette afterwards. And that was for me really a turning point. That moment in my life was like, okay, I want to be someone different than what I am. I want to change my life. And from one thing to another, I came to meet the Brahma Kumaris and very twisted stories again that you won't have time to hear all that.
No, but we would definitely want to hear about that as well.
No, but I found the center at some point, and I realized that purity I was searching for was exactly what was being offered in the aspect of Raja Yoga. For me, that was a magic word. I didn't know anything about Hinduism. There were scary pictures for me, like the Vishnu thing, sleeping on a cobra bed. That was horror picture for me, not spirituality. And but when I saw that, Raja Yoga was the two words that appealed to me very deeply, because it said, well, you can master yourself, but you need the power of yoga. So for me, that's what really made sense. But I was 21 years old. My family thought I went cuckoo completely because it was Indian organization and scary thing. But it really turned my life. And that's why I've been using many times the sentence, I was born in the eye of the whale. That's how maybe God found me through the whale. He knew human beings would not appeal to me. So he said, let's try with the whale. And it did work.
You're coming to the Brahma Kumaris. Like you said that you were not really looking for God. When people understand spirituality, they see that there are people who try different things at hand, and then they go meet gurus or try to go to a monastery, like you said. But coming to the Brahma Kumaris, how did that happen? What was that journey like? Because, like you said, because it was an Indian organization, people did not understand what Indian Hindu thoughts are. So there are certain aspects which do not relate at all. So how did coming to Brahma Kumaris happen?
Yeah, really searching for stories, right? I'll have to tell you another one because it went through a funny way. There was a whale. After that, there was a person I met in my life that was also fascinating, because I was a little bit, after this whale thing, I was thinking, now what do I do? So I went to a mountain in the city every night to watch the sunset. And I was told, if you see 21 sunsets in a row, you either have a huge enlightenment or you just die. But either way, it would be nice. I said, okay, fine, let's go for 21. I forgot to ask about what if it rains. Do I start from scratch? Do I just pause and detail? So I was on a mountain watching my, 18th sunset probably. And this guy passed by and he started talking to me, and I was with the sun. I couldn't see who it was. And I had to say in English, I brushed him off, or I was pretty rude. I said, get lost, I'm not interested. I don't know what you want, but just get away. And then after that, I thought, Eric, it's not me. Why am I so rude? Well, he didn't do anything to me. So I felt a bit weird. And then after the sunset, I was walking on a trail and I saw him. And he was meditating. And it was an amazing picture of this person, with the final little lights on the horizon. And I realized, he's just a meditator. I thought he was asking me something or cruising or something. And I told him, no, go somewhere else. So I went to apologize, and I thought, I'm sorry, I don't know why I was so rude. And when he turned around, it was like, a man from another planet. He was very, very striking face, blue eyes, and your shirt is not even blue compared to his eyes. And I thought, what is this extraterrestrial person doing? And I'm so sorry, I was rude. And it turned out that this guy was fascinated with the Hare Krishna philosophy. So he was an expert in the Bhagavad Gita, which to me was, total foreign concept. And since I was against God, when he told me about this, I thought, is this qualifying as God or not? So I said, okay, I'll give him a chance. So he initiated me to some, Oriental philosophy, Hinduism, all kind of things. And from the discussions we had, I was fascinated. And without him, I don't think I could understand anything of what I would have been told in the Brahma Kumaris. Yeah. So that was a little side story that took me there.
Coming to the Brahma Kumaris, like you said, that this is also something which is not something that you could relate to because it comes from a far-off place from where you live and where you were brought up. What in the Brahma Kumaris really resonated with you? what in the Brahmakumari's teachings you found appealing, that, yeah, this is something that I would like to do? What was it?
Well, because I was studying in kind of science university for veterinarian school, my mind was pretty much on a scientific mode. So against God, yeah, introducing spirituality was okay, but then the aspect of the mind in Raja Yoga for me was the most striking element. Understanding the power of thoughts, intellect, personality, and the fact we can change ourselves. And I really felt that, when I was younger, I used to criticize the world all the time. Until one day someone asked me, okay, you are always complaining, everybody's wrong. What are you doing to help the world? Well, I'm criticizing. I'm a professional criticizer. Isn't that good? That doesn't do any good, And I realized that if I could change my mind and become suddenly a very positive being, showing an example of what it means to be right instead of always criticizing those, in my opinion, who were wrong, I felt, okay, then that could be, something I can contribute to. But just the idea of fixing myself to me was a big thing, because I realized that all the pain or all the insatisfaction I had, all the form of suffering I could experience in my life, they were being produced by my own negativity, my anger, my ego, which was bigger than the whale probably that I encountered. So I knew I was creating my own misery. And Raja Yoga for me was giving me a chance to say, well, don't even ask God to fix you. Don't ask anybody to fix you. You have to fix yourself. And I really felt for years that I was walking in the streets with a big sign, sorry, there's no room for rent. I'm under a massive renovation. So I'm not available for long-term relationship. I'm under massive construction. Sorry for the noise. Sorry for the dust. I'm fixing myself. And that's what I really liked in Raja Yoga was, just fix your own mind, create new thoughts, change whatever in your personality that doesn't work. And to me, it was the biggest hope I could be given, that no one will fix me. I will change myself. But I need connection with God or with life, whatever we call it. That took me a while to accept. But it was mostly the concept of change your mind, change your life, then you can change the world.
The idea of change is often scary to some people because people like the way things are, and they do not want to move out of their own comfort zones. They believe that it is a status quo. Let us be here, and whatever happens and however it happens, but I would not want to work on myself. To make a change in your own self requires a great deal of effort, and sometimes people do not want to put in that kind of effort. Maybe sometimes lack of time or lack of motivation, but sometimes we are just scared. But coming to spirituality, and when you start a spiritual journey, naturally there are a lot of changes that happen to you, whether you choose to or whether that journey transforms you, but those changes happen. And like you said, the Brahmakumaris have taught this thing that you change yourself, and that is how the world changes outside. What changes did you make in your own life? First, consciously making those changes, and the second aspect is, what kind of changes did you see happening to your own life in your own self?
Well, I think the word change is even too soft. I think we should talk about metamorphosis or reincarnation or transformation or, the smoothie experience. You put all the things in the blender and it's more than change. I think there was a massive restructuration. It's not just, I understand change, and there were changes, but it's more than change. It's like restructuring the foundation. That's what I experienced. So for me, in the beginning, I embraced all the changes that were proposed through the philosophy of the Brahmakumaris, the diet, the relationships, the clothes, and everything. I had to work quickly. I became a journalist, so forget the whales and the veterinarian school. I went into journalism and producing, so it was a different story, but I would wear normal clothes, of course, during the day, but the clothes, the lifestyle, everything was changed, from 4 a.m, which I usually go to bed at, I started to waking up at that time until, my whole way of sleeping. Everything was changed, transformed, and embraced it. It's after a few months that I realized that you don't change that easily, and old habits come back. And in the beginning, we are told, okay, you'll change your habits. Fine. Oh, yeah, I want to do that. Until your old habit starts to come back and says, well, do you think you're going to get rid of me that easily? Forget it. I'm back. And that's when you need jackhammer or, massive saw and then boxing gloves. And then you pull out the big weapons. And it's okay, this is more than change. Yeah. I have to restructure my whole way of thinking. And I'm saying that because depending what you want to achieve in life, that's where I come from. If I want to be a gold medalist in a sport, well, it's not just you're going to change a few things in your life. You're going to really suffer. You're going to, it's not even to change in diet. You're rethinking your diet. You're rethinking your exercise. You're rethinking your whole life, because gold medal is redefining or realigning everything. And for me, Raj Yoga was realigning everything on the basis of, what do I want? Like you was asking earlier, who do I want to be? I had those questions at the age of 14. No idea how to respond to them. There's no way I could even imagine what would be a proper answer to even who do I want to be. I left France, to find out who I want to be, and I couldn't answer that question. The whale gave me an experience that was mystical. So it broke the frames of logical thinking to bring me into a state where you're not logical anymore. You have to tap deep into, unconscious memories of ancient me, thousands of years ago, re-emerging in a very surprising form as an expression of God, an expression of divinity, and then you say, whoa, I didn't see that one coming. I saw maybe not even the whale, maybe the vet, the journalist coming, but that one, I didn't see it. So the change was more than changing. And it was initially nice. Then it became a little bit difficult. And then it became a war. Honestly, some people make it very pinky story, but it's a war against the self. Killing ego, good luck. It doesn't die. They show Ravan with 10 heads, I think, in Hinduism. So you cut one and one pops up and never kill him. For me, the ego was the same thing. It's a massive war against the self to change old habits, old ways of thinking, old ways of doing things. But every time we master an aspect of our personality, that change is really always redefined. I think the happiness, the strength, the satisfaction we get from that is undescribable. And today there's still a desire to change things. I still have a few territory to conquer in my own inner kingdom. And it's not always that easy, but it's certainly, it's like saying the whale left with this DNA of perfection. But I have to give birth to that DNA in my actions, in my thoughts, in my relationships. So it's a daily activity that I still today feel. I have the same passion today than I had, 39 years ago when I started on the journey. I'm not tired. I still chase after the gold medal and the whale and the sunset and everything. So yeah, that's my story.
Your personal commitment to change is an everyday choice, that you are making that choice every day. But you also are a Raja Yoga meditation teacher now. Not only you practice it for your own self, but you also help people understand meditation and help people to embark on their own spiritual journey, a journey of transformation, a journey of change for themselves. How does it make you feel when you have to help other people, let alone when you are working on your own self, trying to change things? But to help other people change things is a different ballgame altogether. So how do you see that?
Well, you see, my approach was that many years ago, I used to believe that I was helping people. But I was always, again, scared of my own ego issue. Because you can easily become a teacher.
Yeah.
Well, next step is a guru. And the next step is really in trouble. And you make people in trouble too. So I was aware that there's a danger there. So my approach today is much more, when people come to stay at my place, I don't know, for you, whenever we have guests, the first thing they almost ask these days, after saying, hello, how are you? Usually they ask, what's the Wi-Fi password? And usually people, they're obsessed with password of Wi-Fi. So I see my duty and the spiritual realm now is just to give people password. It's just to say, well, this is a password. Enjoy whatever you'll do when you go in the web. So I try not to have any attachment to I'm helping someone to change. I really feel that this is beyond me, and my role is more to be friendly, to be loving, to be caring with people, and knowing they are going to do the whole work themselves. The only little contribution I can give them is the Wi-Fi password, which is the course that I was told, the basic information I was told. And the rest is just my own personality, that you inspire more than you can control anyone. And I prefer to think of myself today as, friendly, socially entertaining, and make it less painful for people when they get into the battlefield. Then I'm available for, wounds and helping, and can work in a spiritual hospital at that time.
It's quite interesting how you put it across like this, that I'm not a teacher, I'm not a guru, but I'm here with you as you embark on your journey, and I'm also a fellow traveler. And with a little more experience that I might have had with the challenges that you are facing today, I might help you address those things in much easier ways. It's just on the basis of my experience. And if you want to choose to use that experience for your benefit, it is a free offering. And I believe this is a very friendly way of providing support, of being there for people, helping them in a way, but not really showing that you are the one helping it, but just as a source of help, of support, of kindness that people can draw from. And I believe it is a very beautiful change that people would want to bring them in their own lives, and to be that source of support and kindness, and be that source of friendship for other people. And that itself is an inspiration for many to take from.
But it helps in terms of being released from the burden of feeling that we are really doing anything. And it's more about feeling we're being used on the basis of everything we've learned and developed as an experience. We're being used to support a company, as you said. And I find, it's more humbling as well, because each one's journey is so unique. And when I used to believe before that I could really understand what this one needs, after that I realized, who do you think you are really? You don't have a clue what you're doing, so stop pretending. And I believe that sometimes when I feel that I'm the most clever, I used to believe before, I did very well. I had to give such a nice speech and give a good course. Then I realized, you really believe that, right? What about we're being used? We're channeling energy that is beyond us. And I really feel for me that when you're connected on the energy of love, things that come are beyond our own self. I think there's things around us that is so more powerful than our little thing. So I've learned that the biggest thing in my journey is not to allow the ego to do anything, but to fall in love with humility, with kindness, with simplicity, and to stick with these values, saying they are safe. If I focus on that, I will not interfere as much, with my own ego to the teachings that should be given to the person. So one friend told me one day, the best thing in life is to do nothing very slowly.
Wonderful. Eric, as we listen to your stories and how those stories have made who you are today, and how that helps other people also to take and draw support or friendship, or just to see how they could grow in their own spiritual journey. In fact, it's very, very motivating and inspiring. in its own light. I believe I have more questions to ask, and I am pretty sure that you have more stories to tell. But the time that we have is only limited, and we've come to that point where we need to stop today. But I'm pretty sure that in future instances, whenever that may be, we would love to listen to more stories from you. And thank you so much for agreeing to doing this and sharing those stories with us.
My pleasure. Happy to be with you. And yes, happy to tell more stories at some point, and wish you to see the whale one day in the St. Lawrence River. I'm sure it's still
there
somewhere.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Friends, that was this episode of Masters of Change. Each story holds a beauty. Each person has so much to offer. If we are ready to listen to look at what they have been through and what they are doing today to offer friendship, support, kindness, or sometimes, if nothing, just companionship, just to walk with a person and share that ride. And I believe there are more inspirations to draw from each person's story. And Eric's story of change is an inspiring one. That's all in this episode. In the next episode of Masters of Change, we'll see you again. Until then, take care.